You can win every single battle of a war and still lose, completely, totally lose. History is full of armies that crushed their enemy in every battlefield, killed more, captured more, controlled the map, and then walked away years later, defeated. How? Because they made the oldest mistake in warfare. They thought war was about winning battles. It isn't. Battles are won with bullets. But wars are won with something far more powerful and far harder to capture: minds. The minds of the people you conquered, the minds of your own soldiers, and the minds of the people back home. And here's the part that should stop you cold. The exact same techniques an army uses to capture those minds are being used, right now, to capture yours. Today, I'll show you how armies really win, and how to tell when you're In 1975, just after America's war in Vietnam ended in defeat, an American colonel sat across from his North Vietnamese counterpart. The American, proud and frustrated, said to him, "You know, you never defeated us on the battlefield, not once." And the North Vietnamese colonel looked at him and gave a reply that should be carved into the wall of every war college on Earth. He said, "That may be so, but it's also irrelevant. Sit with that, irrelevant. America had won the major battles. Outgunned, outbombed, outkilled the enemy by staggering numbers. And it didn't matter, because winning battles was never what would decide that war." The other side understood something the most powerful military on the planet had missed. The real war was for minds, not territory. And while one side was winning the fighting, the other was winning the minds of the Vietnamese people, and eventually of the American public itself. That single word, irrelevant, is the most important lesson in all of warfare. Force can take ground, only minds can hold it. You can flatten a city and still not own it, because the moment your back is turned, the people you conquered rise again, as long as their minds were never yours. So every army that wants to actually win has to capture 3 different sets of minds, and most people have never thought about a single one of them. The third one is the one being used on you. Let's break down all 3, starting with why this is even true. Here's the brutal math that every conqueror eventually learns the hard way. You can take territory with force. You cannot hold it with force alone, at least not for long, and not without bleeding yourself dry. Think about what it actually takes to rule people who hate you. You'd need a soldier watching every street, every home, every person forever. The moment you don't, resistance grows back like weeds. Every harsh crackdown creates 10 new enemies. The brother of the man you arrested, the son of the woman you humiliated. Pure force doesn't pacify a population. It manufactures the very rebellion it's trying to crush. An occupation held together only by fear is a fire that never goes out. It just waits. This is why the smartest military thinkers eventually arrived at a doctrine with a simple, revealing name: winning hearts and minds. The idea, sharpened in brutal anti-insurgency campaigns, was that you cannot defeat a resistance that lives inside a population unless you win that population over. You have to make the people want your side to win, through security, through services, through legitimacy, or you will be fighting forever, no matter how many battles you take. Because here's the secret an insurgency understands and a conventional army often forgets. The real terrain of a modern war isn't the hills and rivers. It's the loyalty of the people who live there. Whoever owns that, the first battlefield of the mind is the conquered population, and history shows 2 opposite strategies for winning it, with 2 opposite results. The first strategy is terror. Rule through pure fear, crush all dissent, make the people too afraid to resist. It can work briefly. But it has a fatal flaw we just covered. Brutality is a factory for enemies. Humiliate a population badly enough and you don't break their will, you forge it. Every act of cruelty becomes a recruiting poster for the resistance. Empires have shattered themselves against this wall, never understanding why a defeated people simply would not stay defeated. The second strategy is the long, patient game of legitimacy. Instead of just dominating the population, you try to win it by becoming the side that provides safety, order, opportunity, a future. The logic is cold but effective. A person who believes your side will give their family a better life is a person who stops hiding the rebels, stops joining them, and starts informing on them. You haven't conquered their land. You've conquered their calculation of what's best for them, which is far more durable than any fortress. And this is exactly why insurgencies are so maddeningly hard to defeat, and why the mightiest armies have lost to them. An insurgency doesn't live in a base you can bomb. It lives in the sympathy of the population, in the villagers who feed it, hide it, and refuse to betray it. You can kill every fighter you find, but as long as the population's mind belongs to the other side, new fighters grow back endlessly. You're not fighting an army. You're fighting a belief held by millions of people, and bullets don't kill beliefs. Sometimes they only make them stronger. That's mind number 1. Win the people, or win nothing that lasts. But before an army can win anyone else's mind, it has to win a far more surprising one first, the minds of its own soldiers. Here's something most people never consider, and it's the darkest mind of all. Before an army can fight anyone, it has to win the minds of its own soldiers. Because it turns out that turning an ordinary person into someone who will march toward death and take a life is not natural at all. It has to be manufactured. Most human beings have a deep built-in resistance to killing another person. There's long-running debate in military research about exactly how strong that resistance is. One famous claim that only a small fraction of soldiers fired their weapons in combat has been seriously disputed, and you should know that. But the broader truth is well accepted. Ordinary people don't kill easily, and militaries throughout history have had to work hard to overcome that reluctance, so they engineered a process to do it. It starts in basic training, which is far more psychological than physical. The recruit's old identity is deliberately stripped away. The haircut, the uniform, the loss of their name for a number, the total break from their former life. And then a new identity is built in its place. Not an individual anymore, but a member of a unit, bound to the men beside him. That bond, the refusal to let your brothers down, becomes stronger than fear and stronger than the instinct for self-preservation. Soldiers, it turns out, don't mainly fight for a flag or a speech. They fight for each other. Armies learn to manufacture that bond on purpose. Then there's the hardest part, making killing psychologically possible. And the oldest tool for that is one we've covered on this channel, dehumanizing the enemy. Train a soldier to stop seeing the other side as fellow human beings, to see them as a category, a label, a threat rather than a person, and the deep resistance to killing quietly loosens. This isn't an accident of war. It's often a deliberate part of the conditioning. And finally, the army gives the soldier a reason, a why we fight. Governments have produced entire films and campaigns to convince their own troops that their cause is righteous, the enemy is evil, and their sacrifice. The third mind an army must win never sets foot on a battlefield. It's the mind of the people back home, and as Vietnam proved, it can decide a war more completely than any general. Because a war runs on the will of a nation. The home population pays for it with taxes, fills the ranks with its sons and daughters, and endures the loss. And the moment that population stops believing the war is worth it, the moment their minds turn, the war is lost, no matter what's happening on the battlefield. That's the real meaning of irrelevant. America didn't lose Vietnam in the jungle. In large part, it lost it in living rooms back home, when the public's belief in the war finally broke. So every nation at war fights a second, hidden campaign aimed at its own citizens to keep their will from breaking. They demonize the enemy, turning a complex human opponent into a simple monster, because it's easier to support a war against monsters. They control the narrative, emphasizing victories, downplaying losses, sometimes hiding the true cost entirely. They flood the home front with messaging that frames the war as noble, necessary, and winnable. They give people ways to feel part of it, to invest their identity in the cause, so that doubting the war starts to feel like betraying their own country. None of this is about informing the public. It's about managing the public, keeping the national mind locked in belief, because belief is the fuel the whole war machine runs on. Run out of bullets and you can make more. Run out of belief at home, and the war is over. So now you've seen all three minds an army must conquer: the people it rules, the soldiers it sends, and the citizens it depends on. 3 campaigns of persuasion, fear, identity, and meaning, all aimed not at bodies but at minds. Which brings us to the uncomfortable question this whole video has been building toward. If these are the techniques used to win human minds at the scale of entire nations, where else are they being used, and on whom? Here's the truth that makes this more than a history lesson. The techniques armies use to win minds aren't military secrets. They're just the most powerful tools of human persuasion, refined under the highest stakes there are. And the moment a tool is that powerful, it never stays on the battlefield. It gets used everywhere, including on you. Look again at how an army wins a mind, and you'll start seeing it all around you. Legitimacy, making you feel a side, deserves your loyalty. Identity, getting you to define yourself as a member so that an attack on the group feels like an attack on you. An enemy, giving you a them to fear and despise, because nothing bonds people to a cause like a shared enemy. And a why we fight, a noble story that makes your loyalty feel righteous and your doubts feel like betrayal. Now ask yourself where you felt all 4 at once. A political movement that doesn't just want your agreement, but your whole identity. A brand that turns customers into a tribe with enemies. An ideology, an influencer, a cause that gives you a flag, a foe, and a reason to fight, and makes you feel like treason. That's not random. That's the architecture of winning a mind, applied to you. The point isn't that having loyalties is bad. Humans are built for belonging, and that's not a flaw. The point is to know the difference between loyalty you chose and loyalty that was engineered into you. So here's the test. Ask, does this want my honest agreement, or does it want my unquestioning identity? Does it let me criticize my own side, or does that feel forbidden? Did I reason my way to this cause, or was I given an enemy and a flag and swept in? When something wants not just your opinion but your allegiance, when doubting it feels like betrayal, that's the signal that your mind is being treated as territory. And the one freedom they can never take, the way they can on a real battlefield, is your right to step back and ask, whose war am I actually fighting, and did I ever choose it? So remember the Colonel's word, irrelevant. You can win every battle and lose the war because force only takes ground, minds are what hold it. Every army that ever truly won understood it was really fighting for three minds: the conquered, the soldier, and the citizen back home. And the fourth mind, the one this whole video was really about, is yours. The same tools that win wars are quietly used to win your loyalty every day. Knowing how they work doesn't make you cynical. It makes you free to give your allegiance on purpose, instead of having it captured. Next time, we go into the most precise psychological weapon of all, a fear tactic so perfectly engineered it can make an entire army surrender on its own, before the battle even begins. Subscribe, and let's keep pulling these threads. This is never heard about.